I'm Richie and welcome to Helix Cloud Gaming, and this is SideQuest, the show where we take a step off the critical path and explore more of what the video game world has to offer. On this week's show, I'm joined by the host of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, Mr. Chris.
Hello gamers, hope you're well.
And today we're going to be talking about quality control on Google Stadia. But first, quick bit of housekeeping. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon for notifications for when all of our great shows go live, such as the Sounds of Stadia podcast, drops Monday on YouTube, our YouTube channel, and on our podcast services all over the internet. Our first night live streams where recently, what we were playing last week? We were playing Life is Strange True Colours, our first look at that. Just gone. If you want to support the channel even more, you can by becoming a member for as little as 99p. None of our content is gate kept, but you do get early access to this very show on the very Sunday we record it. And if you have any topic, if you want to join the conversation even further, or you have topic ideas for SideQuest, you can join the Discord, our Discord server. The link is in the description below. But just a couple last things before we get into it. We are doing our 2-year anniversary stream coming up, but this time around we are going to be streaming for charity. We've got a couple of charities in mind, but if you want to help us raise money for that, you can head over to justgiving.com/HelixCloudGames, where you'll find details about that. And also, how high have you played Google Stadia? I know Chris has played at 800 feet high. Have you been higher when you played Stadia? Let us know in the comments. And watch Chris's chat video, and big thanks to his wife for helping film that.
She gets 2 thanks there.
Yeah.
2 shout-outs.
She did. Yeah.
Too many shout-outs.
I think we're recording this on the Sunday as we usually do, but yesterday we went out drinking for your birthday. I can't remember if I did or not. I may have promised I'd give her a shout-out, so I'm hedging my bets there.
She deserves it.
She does. She really does.
She puts up with me making so much Stadia content.
She just puts up with you.
I mean, that is that full stop. Yeah, you're completely right.
So in this topic, we are going to be talking about ARK and the quality of it. But there's one thing I do want to address first before we get into our takes on it. Is I have seen and heard rumours and stuff about people attacking the devs and the Stadia team because they're unhappy with the port. It's like, that's not acceptable at all. Like, you have to remember, someone who works for Stadia or someone who works for the ARK developers, they are people trying to do a job of work, and I don't think anyone wants to put out a product that they're not happy with. So, be an adult about the situations. If you're unhappy, it's perfectly fine to be unhappy with a product that you've paid for, but personal attacks on developers and the Stadia team, that's not acceptable, and we do not encourage that here at Helix Cloud Gaming at all. So I just wanted to get that out straight away, because I know I'm a bit salty about ARK, and I just want to make sure, like, I'm being critical of the game and what I think Stadia and the developers could do to be better at that. It's not a personal attack on any member of the team at all.
Yeah, good points.
Yeah.
I obviously echo that as well. I think if you need to go out and on social media and comment to people and say things, it's like you probably need to just look in at yourself a little bit more and question why you're doing those kind of things, because everyone's human out there and everyone deserves the respect that you give to your fellow humans. So yeah, of course, absolutely. We are going to delve into quality assurance and stuff on the platform, but it's all from a critical lens. It's not from a kind of a bashing lens or anything like that. As everything is here, we do on the channel, is we always respect time and effort that everyone puts in to the jobs to bring us these amazing games and platforms that we do enjoy playing on.
So you mentioned quality assurance, Chris. So I think the best way to talk about it, start this conversation, is by talking about our respective experiences with ARK. I played for about half an hour through Chrome browser, and it was an absolute nightmare. It was stuttering all the time. I did see Jem's video after that and go back and play for about another 10-15 minutes just to test out the stuff he found. So big shout out to Jem for that video. But it didn't improve the key area that I felt it needed to. And that was, for me, it was just kind of stuttering every minute or two, and I'd just be playing and then just jerk forward, and it's like, I was playing, it's like, this isn't a good gaming experience at all. And my general take was I felt this would be below the acceptable quality as I think I said in the Sound Stadia podcast, if I was Google Stadia's quality control or quality assurance manager who had the final sign off before the game gets released, I wouldn't have signed off that game in the state it was. What was your take on it, Chris?
Very different from the sounds of it. So I recorded a first look on the channel. Much like you mentioned there, I did watch Jem's video. I did read the Reddit thread regarding the ability, because of the obviously Stadia is hybrid, it works across console, PC, and many other devices. I had the ability to go in with the keyboard commands, and essentially, just like in Jem's video, improve frame rates without like uncapped frame rate. So the game was not locked at 30 frames per second, which the game on Stadia is capped at until you go in and tweak it. Draw distance, shadow texture quality, special effects quality, all of those things I cranked up to the max in the video. And the game ran for me, my first look lasted for about 1 hour. Took me about half of that time to figure out how to create fire. Ate loads of poison berries, loads of raw meat. Had a very upset stomach, did my character. But in terms of the actual gameplay experience that I had, in the first few minutes, like you were alluding to, Richie, there was those stutters where you kind of keeps jumping and you can see all the shadows and the animations kind of jump that little fraction off to a side. I had that before I input all the improved textures and frame rate. And from that point on, it wasn't noticeable for me. I played nearly an hour of the game and there was nothing that stood out and made me go, oh shit, the game's still jumping around and this is really difficult to get a grasp on and stuff. So very different experience to you, and it sounds like a lot of the Stadia community out there. But of course, that was me utilizing the keyboard nature. If I was just playing on the television with Chromecast, I have no option. I'm just stuck with the version that you could have, well, arguably sound like you and many other people experience, which is the bad frame rate, the jumps in quality, and the crappy draw distance and such.
I'm quite happy to play a game that is 1080p 30 frames per second, even if it with inferior draw distance. For me, what it looks like the graphical settings and stuff, all the stuff that Jem's video on the Reddit thread shows you how to manipulate when you're on playing through a PC version of it, because you need to be playing using the mouse and keyboard to access the console commands. Technically, they will be there on the Chromecast version, but you just don't have a way of pulling up the console. But all that stuff, it works exactly as intended. But if anyone's played a PC game before, you know, in console games, you tend to go into video settings, and you might have nowadays you tend to have a toggle. Do you want a performance or graphic mode? And that's it. That's pretty much your choices. In PC gaming, all the different technologies that make up how graphics are rendered, how the lighting is done, all that, the draw distance and stuff tend to have a slider for each of them. So anyone's used to in the PC space, you're used to going in when you first start a game and fiddling with settings to optimize the game to your hardware. What you're doing with console commands is basically playing with them sliders. I wouldn't be surprised if on the PC version of ARK there's a toggle to unlock frame rate, and that's one of the first things you do, because at the moment when you boot up it's capped at 30 frames per second. That first console command, all you're doing is you're taking off the cap, so then the game's not holding itself back. And I just think the port graphically was just everything. All them sliders are just all over the left. Everything's set to low, but clearly with Gem demonstrated, you've demonstrated on your first look that the game could pretty much be run in a smooth fashion on high settings. So that sort of stuff. It's slightly a bit annoying for the launch, but I think that's probably a very easy patch. And to be honest, by the time unless you're like a Helix Cloud Games member, that might have even been fixed by the time you watch this episode. That's how probably easy of a patch it is for them. For me, though, it was the stuttering. It made the game unplayable. That's why I wanted to talk about quality control, because I do think for any product launch, regardless what industry you're in, there has to be some sort of quality control behind it, where it's almost like you should have a checklist of things that have to be ticked before you're willing to release the product. And for me, regardless of how the game looks, it should play smoothly, so it's not juttering the odd one here is fine, but as I said, it's like every minute or two for me. It was too frequent to me to think that they didn't know about that.
Yeah, you gave a good analogy in the podcast that you said about you wouldn't watch a movie if every 5 minutes it skipped 10 seconds.
Yeah,
you wouldn't listen to a song like the good old days of video cassette tapes and everything like that. You wouldn't listen to a song which like halfway through the chorus of the song it all of a sudden fritzes out and skips 5 seconds of the track.
Yeah,
that's not a smooth, enjoyable experience. And there's no reason why this game came out in 2015 originally, if I'm right, on console, and then it's had many iterations and DLCs and expansions. But this game was delayed from the summer to this release, well, from the spring, I guess, to this release date. And we know Stadia can run games. We've seen Cyberpunk, Jedi Fallen Order. It can push the boundaries of games.
We know Stadia can run this game on higher settings than the port is. We've literally demonstrated that.
That is true. That is the best example.
It's, to me, there's a problem, I think, within the porting or the coding of the game that's causing these stutters to happen frequently. And I'm not a game developer, so I don't know what it is or how difficult it would be to fix. But again, if this was only me, if I'm the only person who had seen this problem, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now. But I have seen other people within the Stadia community have the same issue, and that's why I kind of think that there's no way they didn't know about it. And that took my brain straight to quality control. Like, I work in a highly regulated industry that we do manufacture, the place I work, and quality control is a huge thing that we have to adhere to. So this is the kind of something that's grained into me. It's like none of our quality manager will not sign off any product for release that hasn't had it completed its quality control. And it's the managing director isn't really able to overrule her either. It's like, she has the final say, and if she thinks a product's good enough to go to our customers. I think
there's also a few things to consider in regards to this story. There's a few things that have kind of led to where we're at now, and you pointed out a couple there. But I think the game being announced and then taking so long to come out has now put this game on a pedestal. And we've spoke about roadmap many times for the platform, but the fact it was just silence, and then it got delayed. Silence, and then it was told summer, and then summer, Richie was just trickling away from us, and the sun was setting on this lovely season where it's nice and warm. And then it finally came out, stealth drop, great, it's for free, but you're totally right, because of all the kind of situation surrounding the game, it then comes out after so long and a delay, and it still performs this poorly. It goes back to, I've seen people defending it, and again, by all means defend it in your own right, but as a product that's available in many other places, and it has been for many other years, as a consumer who's paying money, whether it be through a pro subscription or it's buying the game outright, there's a certain level that you would expect through quality assurance. If you're putting this title on your platform, it's representing your brand, your image, your platform. So there should be someone in an office somewhere who played this for 20, 30, 40 minutes and said, it keeps stuttering every 5-10 seconds. What are those jumps in frames? What is doing that? Can we fix it before we put it out to the public? People who have to pay their hard-earned cash to play this title. And you're right, in any industry, there should be a level of quality assurance. And back to our analogy of like a movie that skips or a video that buffers, you probably wouldn't hang around watching things on YouTube for that long if every 10 seconds the video went. We continue. Like YouTube would slowly just lose people because there'll be other platforms do it better. So just like the Stadia and gaming, one, why would people keep playing ARK on Stadia when they can play it better elsewhere? Or two, why would they play on Stadia if they can play it better elsewhere? And these are the barriers that as a new platform, it needs to either compete on a level basis with, or it needs to up its game. And it goes back to, again, quality assurance. If this game, albeit would have got more shit for being delayed even longer, I would rather the game came out in December and was a more polished experience than now, and everyone turn off on it and go, you know what, I don't want to play it because it doesn't work. Which one's more detrimental? 2 months more in the oven, or the game being broken? Not that's broken, but you know what I mean.
The thing for me is, I think anytime a game's delayed, there's going to be a section of people out there who get salty on Twitter and go, oh my god, I can't believe this game's delayed again, that sort of stuff. But I think especially on what we've experienced over the last 2 years with COVID, I think the gamers are generally okay with games being delayed. Like, it goes back to, like, I've used this quote so many times, but it's such a good quote. A delayed game is eventually good, but a rush game is forever bad. From Shigeru Miyamoto of Nintendo fame. This is a guy who knows what gaming's about. He two franchises he helmed for a little while that basically reinvented the industry in Zelda and Mario. That's the stature of a person I'm quoting there in our industry. And I just think, like, again, we talked about in Cloud Gaming Extreme before, like the Sony Studios logo or the Nintendo seal of approval. They mean things, and that's a sign of the quality control. That's them certifying we're happy with the performance of this game. And I think I do think Stadia's let themselves down here on this one. Like, as I said, if I was in charge of quality control or quality assurance of Stadia and that support that was put in front of me, I wouldn't have signed off on that game getting pushed, especially as a pro title.
Because more people are going to try it out, you'd think, wouldn't you? Because it's part of the subscription. Well, we should probably echo as well is that I mentioned in the podcast with Lee this last week, but there has to be a reason for it as well, and I do believe that the devs know what's best for their title, and you'd like to think Stadia and quality assurance, they know what's best for the title, and for all we know, uncapping it and having it run at 60 frames or higher and improving all the texture quality and stuff, that might have a detrimental impact on the game maybe an hour in, 2 hours in. Like, we don't know what, like, video games can have bugs kick off at any time. For all we know, having the game at 60, playing for over maybe 2 hours, and it corrupts your save file. Like, something crazy. All it takes is 1 or 2 digits out of place in coding to mess everything up. And all we know, the devs in Stadia could have done quality assurance, and they could have found that actually having these settings set in a way will break the game a little while in. So they've kept it back for this reason. The unfortunate side of being a consumer is we don't hear all that behind the scenes stuff. So hopefully Studio Wildcard or Stadia can come out and say there is a patch in the works, we're aware of some issues, the reason being was XYZ, we're working on a fix. But then that goes back to conversations would have been better brought out in October rather than September if that's the case.
Or if again, as I said earlier, I think it seems to me like the port was just done with the settings all set to the lowest. And if it's just a case of, we made a mistake, we weren't meant to set the lowest, that's just how it accidentally defaulted as we ported it. It's a quick patch and then it's done. Maybe even just push it at the end of the middle of the month. Like, we didn't know ARK was coming on the 1st of September. We suspected. We suspect. That's in last week's podcast. We were talking like, we're running out of summer. Like, ARK's due this summer. Like, I think summer ends on the 22nd of September, so they could have dropped it on the 21st, which is almost a full month. You're getting like 20 days extra if they wanted it to. But again, I don't know. I keep coming back to that. It's that stuttering for me. I would have a list of minimum requirements for any game on Stadia to be checked off, and I don't think my list would be even that hard. A lot of people, I think, if they made their list, would be a little harsher than me. I think there's a lot of people out there go, it has to be 4K, it has to be ray tracing, it has to be HDR, the works. For me, the basic list would be, it has to run at 30 frames per second, it has to be at least 1080p, and it has to perform without any significant issues. And ARK fell flat on the last one for me in my personal experience. So that's why I wouldn't have released it and go, no, this is not ready for release. And I really don't think there's an issue with like delaying games. I'd much rather wait longer for the games I'm looking forward to and having a better experience.
Yeah. And then this kind of comes back around to the fact that they don't put dates on things. Yeah. Like, just saying an ambiguous term like summer, it just leaves it open for, well, what does summer mean? If
they didn't feel it was going to hit summer, just come out in a blog post and just go, ARK's being delayed. We're still aiming for 2021. And then they've got till December. And people go, fine, we've waited this long, we'll wait a bit longer.
Well, that's it. It's not a brand new title, is it? It's been out for years, so no one was clambering to play this day and day. And it's kind of back to me with the whole Mafia situation, where I am kind of over it now. But we'd urge people out there to just have your own take on it. Again, I played it, but I cranked the settings up. And if I hadn't seen Jem's video or the Reddit thread, I would have probably experienced it the same way you did, Richie, where I played half an hour. got confused by the actual game, and then it kept stuttering, so that kind of would have just built up frustration for me. And then I would have went, you know what, I've got 4 of the pro titles to check out here. I'll move on, and then lo and behold, ARK just sits in my library, and I never go back to it.
That's it. I've said before, like, I was never excited for ARK. I was intrigued by it. But so I was like, okay, we've got ARK. I've got a bit of time. I'll jump in, and I just didn't have a good experience. And it's a shame that my experience of it has been soured by technical issues. And again, if it was with bad draw distance and poor textures and stuff, I would have been okay with that. I have said, if you go watch my East 8 first look, I described the graphics as remind me of Final Fantasy X, a PS2 game, and I've got 70 hours in that game. So, but the game ran smooth. I didn't have a single stutter or anything, so like I was able to look beyond what graphics that I think could have been done better. I mean, eventually you just get used to the quality of the graphics, I think. But something like stuttering in the game, I think is always going to be frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of games out there which have succeeded with arguably terrible graphics, because that's just like, that's the style, that's the choice, and it gets overlooked. Like, look how successful Minecraft is, and everything's just a blocky texture. Like, obviously, deliberately, that's the art choice.
You can count the pixels in Minecraft.
Yeah, but you don't need, like, it doesn't need to be that. And I don't think ARK has ever tried to be a AAA Ghost of Tsushima level polish of, like, video game. It is what it is. But if it doesn't run smoothly, it's a lot of terms of the sense, it's broken because it doesn't run smoothly. And like Minecraft, again, graphics aside, it runs smooth.
Yeah.
And like I said, you wouldn't watch a movie that skipped every 10 seconds. You wouldn't listen to a song that skipped 5 seconds. So why, as a consumer who's paid money for pro or to buy the game, all right, would you accept a game that jumps every 10 seconds or skips frames?
Well, that's it. And going back, like the topic of like, is it has shown why Stadia requires better quality control? I personally think it's an absolute yes. Stadia need to be having quality control, and you bake the requirements into the contract. So if you bake it into the contract of like, okay, we're paying you to port this over, here's the requirement, here's your basic level of requirements. If you don't hit these, you don't get paid, sort of things. So in the industry I work in, we do a lot of contract manufacture, and if we make a product that someone else is putting onto the market, if we don't hit their requirements, then they're not going to pay us for the product. That's just how it works when you're contracting in contract manufacture. And I see this as a similar situation where Stadia, the people putting the game onto the market because it's their platform, and then basically what's the name of the developers? I keep forgetting this.
For this game, it is, I had it up a second ago, Studio Wildcard.
So Studio Wildcard are the contract manufacturer in this case, so they're producing this game for Stadia to put on the market. And so I think it's perfectly reasonable for Google Stadia. I'm Nintendo, I'm PlayStation, I'm Microsoft, and Luna, the whole works, to go, this is the basic level of quality we expect for any game coming to our platform.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to bring up?
No, I think I always urge people to just go make your own opinions. If the game runs smooth for you and you enjoy it, then great. Like I said, I played it for an hour and I had a great time, but I also went into the developer settings and cranked all the settings up to absolute maximum, and it ran fine for me. But I'm not everybody. Again, if I don't read Reddit, if I don't watch videos on YouTube, if I don't have the patience, I would not have found that. And I might have played ARK for 10 minutes on the couch in the living room on the Chromecast and just went, well, this runs shit.
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm never going back to this game, or I might come back after a patch in several months' time. But at that point, as a developer of the game, you've lost my interest. The gaming industry moves so quick, I'll move on to the other 7, 6, 7, 8, 9 things I can play.
Well, yeah, again, ultimately, I'm a bit annoyed because I'm a Stadia Pro member, so I've got this through Stadia Pro, but I'm paying for access to titles like this. But I think it's a bit annoying as a consumer, but I think this is actually more detrimental to Google Stadia and Studio Wildcard, because it's their reputations that get damaged by stuff like this. It's like, I can really see how people, sections of the internet who are the Stadia haters, who just spend the time looking for anything to bash Stadia with, going, can't even run ARK.
More ammo.
Yeah, that's it. And so So I'm a bit annoyed by it, but you can't. It's like it's more disappointed than annoyed. Like it just looks like you're shooting yourself in the foot on something like releasing a game that a lot of people have had a bad experience with so far on a technical level.
Yeah,
but
totally right.
Anyway, that's basically been a 25-minute rant. But I think it was an interesting conversation that we had there. So,
well, yeah, and I think it does split up. Not the community doesn't split us up, but obviously everyone has different interpretations. So we'd love to hear your comments in the chat. Let us know how the games ran for you. Let us know what you think Stadia could do to improve quality assurance overall. And as consumers, do you think it's fair that we're able to ask for better quality products? At the end of the day, we don't owe these businesses anything, and we pay them for a product. And if it's an inferior version, if arguably it's the worst version of the game on any platform, why are we at bottom of the barrel? So, well, it should be level playing field across the board if possible.
I suppose, like, to sum up my thoughts, if I bought this game instead of getting it for Stadia Pro, I would have refunded it. But with that,
which isn't a good look.
No, yeah, it's not. It's like that's me basically saying that based on my experience with this game and the state it was, the port, they would have lost my sale on that. But that's all we have time for this week. Thank you very much for watching the video. Make sure you like it and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon for notifications. And as Chris said, I really want to hear what your thoughts are on this port and our take on like quality control in general. So let us know in the comments below. If you have any topic suggestions for SideQuest or something you want to bring up about on the Sound Stadia podcast, you can in our Discord server. There's a link in the description below. Make sure you check out our other content, such as our Thursday night live streams where Chris and I started playing Life is Strange True Colours. The Sound Stadia podcast comes out every single Monday on YouTube and all podcast services. This show, SideQuest, is on podcast services as well. I always forget to remind people, but it is there. So you can find SideQuest on all podcast platforms. If you're whatever podcast platform you use and you can't find it, let me know either through Twitter at RichieC89, at HighHillStyle Games, at CyberChris2077, at AdaxisLP, or on our Discord server, or even in the comments. We do read them all, so if it's somewhere where you expect it to be and it's not, I'll put it there. And with that, I've been Richie.
I've been Chris.
Remember, don't attack people online. Quest completed.